For those of you who don't know, I'm Tyler Odenthal. Hello. I'm head of engineering at Chatmode. Today we're just going to be going over a demo. This demo is ReceiptBot. It's made to make expense reporting and receipt tracking easier. It's deployed on Microsoft Teams, and I'll be going through the steps of how I did this and how we can use it to track some stuff and submit it to different parts of the organization. So let's just jump right into it. We're gonna go over the tools used, and then I'm gonna show you some of the tools that were used, and how I built the ReceiptBot, and then I'm gonna jump into a live demo. So the first tool that was used is Power Automate, and why we use Power Automate is because it's a process automation platform. It's really good for daisy chaining. And daisy chaining is just a concept of bouncing in and out between processes. So essentially, let's say I want to take bot communication, take some variables from there, and then submit it to an Excel document, maybe generate another report, do possibly some other functions as well. And Power Automate's great for that. Also allows for bi-directional communication between your bot application and this process platform. So that was a very important tool, Power Automate. Microsoft Teams is also a crucial part of the bot. It's where all of the communication will be going on between the bot and your organization. So Microsoft Teams is great at aggregating business information, as well as allowing features such as tabs, dashboards, Power BI, all sorts of stuff to be integrated directly inside of Microsoft Teams. So it's great for organizing your team as well as communicating with bot applications. And then we used Bot Framework to actually make the bot. We made the process a lot faster using Microsoft Composer. I would say the bot's still in prototype phase, but with a couple of days of programming and hard focus, this prototype has rapidly developed into something that is demoable and looks useful to the public eye. So that's what we're going to be showing off today, and a lot of that was done using Microsoft Composer, which expedites the coding process in a no-code like environment. Also, it allows integrations into Lewis and other bot framework cognitive services and APIs. So that's great. So we're gonna briefly go over the tools, and then we're gonna go over the live demo, which utilizes all these types of concepts that you see right here. There's a Power BI dashboard. There's the Power Automate platform. We'll jump into Composer a little bit, and then there's some more Power BI stuff. So that's pretty much the presentation. So we'll just go into Power Automate, which is the first tool that we utilize in the process of making the bot. I'm just going to take a quick sip of coffee, and then I'm going to go over how I structured this daisy chain or this process flow. And then I'll explain what's included inside of each one of these flows and why I included it in there. All right. So the top process that I've added to my flow in Power Automate is a HTTP request receive, which allows the bot to send to this API a JSON based on a schema that you've given it. So mumbo jumbo aside, this is just a way for the bot to communicate data between Power Automate and the bot framework environment. And then I set up an array variable, and I called it item name array. And then I saved the receipt to OneDrive. And then I use AI Builder, which is Microsoft's AI solutions. There's actually a pre-built model that we're going to be leveraging that is relatively cheap, but is exceptionally useful. And it's the receipt module. So let's go to build real quick. just so I can show you some of these modules. So we're going to actually be leveraging the receipt processing module right here inside of the AI Builder solutions. So you can get a 30-day free trial of this just to try it out, but we can preview what it technically does. I would say it's not perfect, but if you give it a good photo of a receipt, it can extract some good information. And that's what we're going to be putting inside of our chatbot. So that's what was included right here. So I essentially give it the file content of the OneDrive file that I created right here, and it's able to process the receipt that it gathered from this HTTP, which will later be explained it got from the bot. And then it's going to add some of that data into Excel. So it's going to take that processed receipt information, it's going to add it into Excel. And here are some of the variables that we're storing. So like transaction time, transaction date, merchant name, merchant address, merchant phone number, item name, item price, etc. And then we append the item name to the array variable that we created up here, so we can get a log of the items that we've submitted. And then we're gonna capture the user who submitted the expense, so it's gonna get the username from the bot and tell us who essentially submitted that expense report or expense receipt. And then it's going to capture the tax information if there is any with the merchant name. So essentially it's just setting up some sheets, and I can actually pull it up real quick. Let's see if I have that open. Just go to Google Sheets, so I can just actually, we'll show it once when we get to the bot. I'll show you the Excel document once when we get to the bot. And then it sends back the confirmation report back to the bot. So essentially it's going to take all this information and send it back to the bot. So it's kind of the reverse process of what we did up here. This is sending information out while this JSON schema is taking information in. And then it's doing a lot of things in between that generates more information out. So that's what Power Automate is exceptionally useful for. It allows you to do a ton of processes in between the bot and external applications. So that's essentially why you would want to include it. So let's move on to the bot real quick. So the bot's not exceptionally hard to explain, but it's good to know how it works before we show the demo. So the bot is essentially three intents: a greeting intent, a greeting intent, and a process receipt intent. So the process receipt intent, all it does is it takes a photo and it saves that attachment, and then it sends it to this right here. It sends it to Power Automate. So we take this body, it gets sent here, it does all this stuff, and then it sends data back to here. And then all it's going to do is it's going to send a adaptive card back to the bot. So if you're interested in learning more about bot applications or how you can construct bot framework composer bots, I'll probably have more detailed videos on that in the future, or you can go to my YouTube. That's there. But essentially, this is how you construct. It's just good to know that bots send a response based on what it's looking for. So a trigger phrase. So essentially, when a user says something like this, one of these trigger phrases, it's going to ask for a action. So this action is currently asking for a receipt. So a user says, I have a receipt. It says, okay, cool. Send me a picture of the receipt, and we'll go on from there. So that's all you really need to know about the bot and how it was constructed. So now we can actually jump into the live demo, which is deployed on Microsoft Teams. So all of the useful stuff that I was just explaining and why we would use Microsoft Teams is now coming to fruition right here. So this is my Microsoft Teams application called ReceiptBot. And anyone who is on your organization who has this application installed can do exactly what I'm doing now. So if we type hello, we're going to trigger the greeting message, which just has the welcome intent, and this is an adaptive card that kind of explains what the bot does. So it says, welcome to ReceiptBot. It gathers my name. It gathers a timestamp. And then it says, hello, I'm ReceiptBot. please use me whenever you need to submit an expense, and it goes directly to the accounting department. So I would assume that the accounting department would be watching this Excel document or watching Dynamics Financial, and this bot can now directly interface with your accounting department if they're watching one of these things. So remember how I said all that stuff from Power Automate's going to an Excel document, and we had that set up? Well, now's the time to actually show you all that stuff. So here's, like I said, the flow that sends all this information to an Excel document, and in Microsoft Teams, we can now view that information right here. So here's some previous items that I've actually submitted using the bot, and we'll jump into how we can submit some items. It's actually not horribly complex, and it's actually pretty cool. So like I said, I set up some sheets, I set up some tables, and this is what Power Automate does when I send it a picture of a receipt. So we're gonna do that now. So I have a receipt. So you can just say I have a receipt, and it should be able to say send me a picture of a receipt. Yeah, so you can say any variation of I have a receipt, and you can probably even click this button and it'll still work. And it'll prompt the next stage of the bot. It'll go into the intent that I was talking about right here, which is the go to receipt intent. Once when these trigger phrases are triggered, it's going to now ask for an attachment. So we're gonna now give it an attachment inside of Microsoft Teams to process on Power Automate. So let's just give it the Big Boy Burger. The Big Boy Burger, in my opinion, is a pretty clean receipt. This is Microsoft's AI application, so I don't really have control over the quality at the moment. I could train my own model, but that's not an efficient amount, useful amount of time if they've already built one. So it's probably just in my best interest to get better receipt photos, but I don't have any receipts lying around. So once when you give it a receipt photo, it's going to send it to the Power Automate backend, and then it's going to do some processes, and it's going to generate this adaptive card. And as you can see, based on the quality of the receipt, or based on whether or not it actually exists on the receipt, it's going to miss some items. So I'm probably going to set up a secondary submission type concept to where people can edit these fields before submitting the receipt. But like I said, this is still in prototype. But what we just did is we gave it this photo. It was sent to Power Automate, which was structured early in the video. It did a ton of commands, processes, and then it generated this adaptive card using Bot Framework and Composer. So this is just nice for as a kind of like a feedback report on knowing that this gets submitted. But the main usefulness is that all of the items that got scraped from the bot just now got added right here. And why that's important is because we can now take this information and further extrapolate it into a Power BI dashboard, which can also be viewed inside of Microsoft Teams. So I now have put that inside of my chatbot, inside of a tab. So these are both tabs inside of your application. And this is just now a Power BI dashboard that can view all of the receipts that I've submitted to the chatbot, or anyone in your organization that has submitted these receipts to the chatbot. And you can now start to visualize the data and see where all the most expenses are coming from, possibly who's spending that data, spending that money, what it's being spent on. Currently, most of these things are restaurants, because I just couldn't find more diverse receipts that would generate great data. But I would assume that it works with all types of receipts. I've actually submitted quite diverse array. So let's just do it a couple more times. Here's just like my little debug to make the process a little bit cooler, and make the bot even more useful. So essentially, we're generating all this data on Excel from the bot, which is great. So you can even see like who's actually spending the money, possibly get the tax information if your state has taxes on specific things that you're buying, which would be great for your accountant. And you can actually see the spending location. But I'm also interested in probably adding another column, which I'll demonstrate right here, that this is a download URL that the bot actually also generates. So it generates a thing called a download URL, which is great, because what that means is that you can actually have, I believe, a live version of your receipts. So let's try that. So we just took this URL right here and we put it into Chrome, and you can see that if I were to have a column and I started putting this content URL, you can actually just have a clickable, viewable, documented place where all these receipts are logged in Microsoft Teams. And that all gets stored inside of the bot, and it comes from the bot actually, because all you have to do is submit it and it generates all this data. And the bot generates all of these item names, all of the price amounts, how many things that you're buying, and it even can log quite handily the receipt itself, and allow your organization to better keep log of your receipts. So that's pretty much all I've got, and I thank you for watching. If anyone has questions or comments, I'm more than happy to answer them. So we'll just play around in the Power BI dashboard for a couple minutes and see if anyone comments. But yeah, no, this is using the Microsoft stack, pretty much the whole stack: Power Automate, Bot Framework, Microsoft Teams, Azure, even, and Power BI to essentially take this receipt, extrapolate all the information off of it into an Excel document, Power BI dashboard, logged environment. It's almost like you can build a whole accounting system on top of Microsoft Teams if you really wanted to, which is great. But I don't think we're there yet. I think just for very niche use cases like this, like receipt tracking and maybe expense forms, or like taking pictures of like an Amazon receipt, is probably a great time save for a lot of people and a lot of organizations. So that's the demo that we put together. That's something that we're working on. This is just one of the many fun projects that we're doing at Chat Mode. So I thank you for watching. The video will be on YouTube as well. So yeah, until next time.